welcome to Conscious Enterprises. I'm Roxana Rafacha, the founder of Conscious Enterprises, and I'm super thrilled to share this conversation with you. Karan Rai is full of super deep, super profound wisdom, and he's also the founder and CEO of Asgard Partners, which is a capital advisory group and private equity fund on a mission to harness the power of business to do good for the world. His personal story is going to shock you, and the amount of knowledge that he shares might require you to repeat this a couple times, because he really goes in depth about some really amazing thoughts and philosophies. Not to mention his unconventional strategies for optimizing his team's performance are really admirable. I've known Karan for a very long time through some mutual friends, and it has been such a pleasure to watch him rise to the top of everything he does. He has a really astounding reputation in the financial industry for just building and transforming companies, and this newest business venture really breaks a lot of molds. The financial industry, as most of you probably know, does not have the best reputation for any sort of wellness, well-being, or self-reflection, particularly in New York City. Which is why it was really awe-inspiring to watch Karan and hear about the fundamentals upon which Asgard Partners is being built. I won't spoil, a big part of this conversation, but Karan shares how in 2015 he suffered a massive panic attack at basically the wheel of his airplane, flying his private airplane, and this conversation is about how this experience has changed his perspective on life, the importance of holding yourself accountable, and his approach to integrating these principles into his business. I'm so thrilled to share this as the very first in series for Conversations with Conscious Enterprises. Please follow us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. Please subscribe and check out our website, www.conscious.enterprises. See you soon. Thanks. And I've become very passionate about, as someone who I've just always been very entrepreneurial and very interested in business and business leaders, and I feel like it's people like you and my husband and, these real, forces for business in the world that are going to show people kind of the other sides of life,
Most people aren't ready for it.
Yeah, that's why you kind of have to, that's why I'm not sure I'm going to talk about this experience to people on my website or anything like that, but I am very much going to make meditation, the forefront of kind of like the lifestyle, showing that as the lifestyle of these business leaders. And what happens to you with it, whether it brings you calm, whether it brings you X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, that's kind of up to you. But
No, that's so what you're describing. So my mom is Buddhist, right? And
right.
I grew up in. My father was he's 27 years in the services, 22 of those in special forces. So I grew up my father's son for, I would say, the first. I'm 40 now, for the first probably 37 years of my life, where it was. You just will shit to happen, Like when I put my mind to it. If I was single, I was an idiot just chasing women. I was I didn't have anyone I want. It was a job. So it was just, but it was all me doing it, right?
Right.
And there was just this, rawness about that energy. And it was purely just this masculine energy.
Yes.
Right. It was the energy of a doer, of somebody who's creating on this plane.
Right.
And you leave a lot of carnage in your wake when you come from that place, because you're literally just saying, I don't care. This is not the words I would have used. I don't care what the universe is conspiring to do. I am the captain of my own fucking ship, and I will do what the fuck ever it takes. And it just takes a lot of energy unless you're completely aligned. But you still just do it, and when you do it, and when you get the thing, you realize that it's not worth it.
Right.
Right. And look at the carnage you've left in your wake, and the older I get, I'll share with you off the record, kind of what got me to where I was.
Yeah.
Is what I've come to realize is that it's just so unnecessary. like I am so much more effective now
Yeah.
because I found that balance where I'm plugging into the flow of life, right?
Right.
And now my identity's tied to, my identity used to be of this just fucking warrior,
Yeah.
right? Which was like, I will go to battle. And
Yeah.
so there was just this natural resistance built into it. If it wasn't worth fighting for, it wasn't worth having.
Yeah.
And for me, the switch has gone from that, me being a warrior to me being a mystic, which is
Cool.
everything that shows up in my life effortlessly exactly when I want it, and I never have to
Yes.
struggle for it.
It's amazing, right?
Right? I just got goosebumps when I said that to you, but
Yeah.
that's a different way to exist, and I think what's lost on most people is like, this is not reality, this is all illusion. Like all
Yes.
this is illusion, right? This is a projection of the level of consciousness that you happen to have reached at this point in time. That's all
Yeah.
it is, right? So people just go fix stuff out here all the time, right? And that's like fixing the projectors. If I had a projector, and you're afraid of snakes, and there's a screen and it's showing snakes, and you're freaking out, and I get up and with a knife I carve out the snakes from the screen, like
Yeah.
they show up on the wall. And I
Yeah.
think everybody in the Western society is so focused on tips and techniques and what can I do, what behavioral things, what psychological things.
Right.
Those are all things. Those are the effects.
Yeah.
Like no one gets the cause. The cause is what is getting you to make that projection out, because literally you are projecting your reality.
Exactly.
I ask people a simple question. As part of my spiritual practice was, where do you see me right now, right? Where am I?
We're in a WeWork.
Okay, where am I? Like, where do you see me? Point to where you see me.
Right there.
Okay, well you don't,
Yeah.
right? It's just but that's the whole. I say we see this. You've never seen anything out here.
Yeah.
Because what happens? You see this. This is vibration. It's light vibration. Goes through your retinas, gets flipped around, goes through your basal ganglia, and then your optic nerve reverses that image, and you see it in the back of your head. So your
Right.
entire world, your entire existence,
Is a projection. Yeah.
has always been just inside of you.
I
Because
know.
if they cut that basal ganglia cord,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what the input is from this reader, you can't process it, and you will see nothing.
Yeah.
So you've never seen me out here. You've never seen anything out here.
Yeah.
The only place you've ever experienced any visual or any sensual, kinesthetic,
Yeah.
or any vibratory sounds has been inside of you. This entire universe is inside of you, right?
So that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
You've literally never experienced anything, because these
Yeah.
are all these are very gross instruments, right, that are trying to measure just very fine energies.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's not as if, like, before the microscope was invented, it's not as if the microscopic organisms weren't there.
Right.
They just couldn't be discovered because you had a
Right.
very, very gross mechanism to measure something very fine.
And I always say, like, our five senses are totally arbitrary. Like, if you think of the scale of the universe and what's going on, it's like they're
Well, your dog
totally
can
arbitrary.
hear,
Yeah,
your dog can hear stuff that
exactly.
you can't hear. There's ultraviolet.
Yeah.
You can't see the radio signals. I think, but like that for most people is an intellectual concept. It hasn't
Right.
become where they start living from that place, where you realize that to the extent you can see it in the physical world, that is not generative. That is descriptive.
Right.
That's stuff that's already happened. Your present moment has nothing to teach you.
Yeah.
It's a projection of the past. So whatever it is that you're choosing to create, right, that's going to originate from in here. It hasn't
Yeah.
happened yet. You're taking something from the unmanifest and you're bringing it into the manifest.
Totally.
Right? Like that's
Yeah.
what you were created to do. So, how do you translate that into business? Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, that's when it becomes like super interesting.
It is.
Because then you have to find, because again, whether you call it like, if you go academic for a moment, you say, okay, it's almost equivalent to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or there's plenty of teachers who come talk about the different levels of consciousness,
Yeah.
and every level is linked to the level before, and you can't transcend from one level to the other without going through the levels, right?
Right.
So if you're sitting up here and you've had an experience that you have, and I'll share in a moment kind of what I went through, but and you get to that place, and all of a sudden you're like, you can see why people can't relate to you,
Right.
But it's like it's incumbent upon you to find that, like, what steps do I need to take to get to a place where people get the message that I'm trying to.
Yeah,
And
it's
what
a challenge.
And what is
Yeah.
my message, right? So I
Yeah.
think that in business, by definition, where I think if you truly believe everything is energy, which I do unequivocally,
Yeah.
if you go back to the Vedantas and the Vedas, from abundance he took abundance, and abundance remained.
Yeah.
Right? And everything is the stuff that the scientific minds and quantum theory and quantum mechanics are now just being able to prove out using multi-billion-dollar devices like the Hadron Collider and telling that the Higgs boson particle actually exists.
Yeah.
Which proves that all of this is vibratory and there is no such thing as matter. Energy converts to matter.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's what we've been trying to prove out for so long.
Right.
You go back to 10,000, 5,000 years and look at the Vedas and the Vedantas of and the Upanishads, the holy books.
Yeah,
of the ancient
they were
times.
all plugged in already.
They all knew.
It's crazy. Yeah.
They started from the place of that vibration, energy.
Yeah.
Right. Sound creates.
Right.
Right. And I'm not religious. I'm spiritual.
Yeah,
I'm not religious,
same.
but I read a lot of religious texts because they
Yeah.
all contain morsels of the truth
They
that have
absolutely,
not
yeah.
been dogmatized yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when people talk about he said, "Let there be light."
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
there was light. Right?
There's a common thread of all, like if you were to read, the Bible to the Bhagavad Gita to the, there's a common thread, and that kind of I feel like is the universal truth for sure. It's just the dogmatized part that is just,
No,
it's human.
There are way more similarities. There are differences, and
Yeah.
over a period of time, people who haven't been, I don't want to use the term enlightened, but haven't been present enough to the truth, just start, the egoic mind
Yeah.
makes a translation,
Yeah.
and then it gets into scripture, and then it gets passed on, and the next egoic mind, right? So the simplicity of the truth that came from just being present gets
Yeah.
lost because the people translating are not always where they need to be translated.
Yeah.
Right, so I can say the same thing, which means different to you. This conversation I
Totally.
can't have with probably 95% of the people that I speak with.
Right, of
And I
course.
certainly can't have this with probably 99% of the people in business.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
And so, so very briefly,
Yeah, I want to hear your story.
I mean, it was November 23rd or 24th. It was Thanksgiving 2 years ago.
Okay.
So 2 years and a few months ago. So Thanksgiving of 2015.
Oh, weird. It's like about around the same time I had marriage.
2016, 2017. Yeah, so it's Thanksgiving of 2015.
Interesting. Okay.
It was actually the last time, the crazy night when we all hung out.
Oh, did you guys come to our
Yes.
party? That was like around
At the-
Christmas.
at the-
Yes, at the Caledonia.
At Caledonia.
Yes.
So literally, right before that happened, like 2 days before that,
Yeah.
3 days before that, I was flying, so I had my little airplane, right?
Yeah.
And I was flying my airplane from Virginia to Westport, Connecticut to see my sister. We were going to do Thanksgiving with my sister.
Yeah.
So I land in New Haven typically, and then
Mhm.
my things will pick me up. It was a shitty day. It was really bad weather. I was flying on instruments.
Yeah.
Right, and I was the only one in the airplane. And mind you, I take pride in my aviation abilities. Right? I fancy myself a real aviator, right? Like
Yeah.
I love it. And so, for me, flying an airplane is like driving a car.
Okay.
So, you just get more focused because, like, you realize, like, I got to be more focused. There's no horizon. I got to watch my instruments, whether I got to mind all that stuff. But I just had this uneasy feeling for about 4 or 5 months, where like something just wasn't right, and I didn't know what it was, and it wasn't a physical thing. It was just like I just had this uneasy feeling, and it should have been the best time in my life. Why?
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I had a really successful career at J.P. Morgan. Like, I left there, and I was running a couple $2 billion company.
Right.
Right. And we turned it around. I was the president of that business. I was a CEO of another company. Right. I'm living on the ocean. I have my airplane. I have my beautiful wife. I have my baby boy who was born in September, who's just super healthy, and like literally everything that people tell you should have in your life that should make you happy. My parents are still alive. My sister's in a good place. Like, you name it.
You had it all.
I had just literally I had everything I needed to have, and I just was so empty.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know why, because I've been chasing.
Such a common issue.
I had never taken the time to figure out that what was it that I was chasing, right?
Right.
And for me, it was just more of like this.
Right.
You just got to do something, or got to make something of yourself. And I started getting these little signs almost. And when I say signs, it just is, the truth, the wisdom, it whispers to you. It doesn't yell at you.
Right.
Right? And so this is why meditation and being present is so important, because I believe that one of the most important faculties you possess as a human being is intuition.
Right.
By far.
I definitely agree.
That's a real quality, and intuition requires you to be present, because again, intuition it's it's like a lover's whisper, right? Like it's just very gentle,
Yeah.
you know. And if you're not present, you'll miss it and be like, well, what was that? I thought I heard something. So
Right.
it was about 3 or 4 months ongoing, and I'm just like, why am I just like, something's just not right.
Yeah.
I was kind of like mildly depressed.
Oh, wow.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm like, what's going on here? And I
Yeah.
can't figure it out because I'm not.
You're like, I got it all. Why am I
Like,
feeling like
I
this?
don't
Yeah.
get depressed. I'm like,
Yeah.
you've known me a long time. I'm
Yeah,
hyper
you are.
energy, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you
I
are.
like to just live life and
Yeah.
just go after it. But I kept putting it away. So this flight, it was a culmination of just not listening to your whispers. So the truth, when you're ready to receive it, it'll find itself to you.
Right.
Right. And if you're not ready to listen to the whispers, it'll get a little louder, louder.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll smack you on the head with a brick and say, "Hey, dummy, you're not paying attention to the signs. So here's what I'm trying to tell you: shit's
Totally.
not working."
Yeah.
So that was my event. I'm flying, and all of a sudden, I go to take a breath, and I can't breathe.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you know, no idea what's happening, and another breath, and I can't breathe.
Oh my God.
And all of a sudden, my right arm starts tingling, then my left arm starts tingling, and then my legs start tingling, and all of a sudden, I start getting. It was almost like a spasm
Okay.
like in my chest.
Oh my God.
And I go to take another breath, and I'm like.
Oh my God. That's
And
so
all of a sudden,
scary.
it starts getting blurry. And mind you, I'm flying an airplane.
And you're the only one in the plane.
I'm the pilot, right?
Jesus fucking
and
Christ.
and I'm like, wow, what just?
Yeah.
Like, what, and then I go to take another breath, and then I start freaking out. I'm like,
Yeah.
shit. Okay, so then I get on the mic with ATC, and I don't declare an emergency, but I'm like, I need to divert close to the
Yeah.
airport. So I was flying to New Haven. I diverted to Bridgeport, Connecticut, which was like 5 minutes from where I was
Okay.
on the map. And I was losing consciousness almost.
Oh my God.
And I barely got the airplane on the ground and can't breathe. It literally jumped out, like rolled out of the airplane. I'm laying on the tarmac when that pulled the plane
Holy
up.
shit.
And I can't breathe.
Crazy.
End up in the hospital. My sister's a physician. You know, her and my brother-in-law, they take me to the
Yeah.
hospital. I stay for observation overnight, and the physicians telling
Wow.
me, they're like, well, you had a really big anxiety attack.
Really?
And I was like, I've never had one. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But this, but I was like, well, I don't get
That's like
anxious.
a really intense anxiety attack if you felt like you're losing consciousness.
Yeah, so it was, and I think, I'm sure part of that was panic, part
Yeah,
of that was
yeah.
all of it. And so they ran some tests, and they kind of came back to, well, there's more fight or flight, you just release a lot of cortisol in your body. Like,
Yeah.
you could have had a stroke. Like,
Oh my
there's just a ton of
God.
chemical imbalance in your body.
Right.
So they kept me there for a day and a half.
Jesus.
And so I'm sitting there, and that's when I had that moment. I'm like, what went wrong? I'm 38 years old. I was 37, 38.
Yeah.
I just turned 38. My birthday was in October. Like, what went wrong?
Right.
How am I here? And it was the first time I think I just taken a moment to kind of self-reflect, to say, just really kind of have this, when you're chasing so many things and you finally realize that one thing you really need is a breath,
Yeah.
right? So when you don't get that next breath,
Yeah.
you're like, well, how do I, what?
Now what? Yeah.
Right? So finally when I started breathing, I was just so thankful to have my breath back. They had me all kinds of juiced up, right?
Right.
And just to be able to take a deep breath and actually, flush my system with oxygen.
Yeah.
When I finally was able to take that, it was like the following day.
Yeah.
I was in hyperventilated breathing for like a long time. And they had
Holy
me all kinds
shit.
And that to me was the moment when I had probably the first time where I really appreciated like what taking a breath was. Like, I could literally be like,
Yeah.
oh, man, like that feels so amazing.
Really? So it's like the first time in your life that you were actually
Yeah.
present in the moment, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's amazing.
And that kind of started for me. Well, unfortunately, what happened is, so the way that the physicians describe is, if you live your life in a high stress environment, which most of us do, right? I definitely was doing.
New York City, yeah.
And you continually put yourself in stress environments that have outside stressors, and you don't have some kind of a psychological practice, right?
Right.
To deal with it. What ends up
Right.
happening? Some people just have a natural purge, right? They'll have highs and lows, and they'll
Right.
freak out. Like it's all going in. Like I'm the man of steel.
You're closing
like,
it all up,
like,
yeah.
you can't phase me. I don't get anxiety. I
Yeah.
don't get panic. So what happens is your body apparently can get in a position where it realizes, because is a
Right.
pressure cooker. So the release becomes any kind of a trigger can be the release for it to turn into an anxiety attack, and that's when your body's kind of like, shh,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah.
And so because you can actively control it, so your body just times it for you and it releases it.
It's like, fuck off, here
and,
it is.
and,
yeah.
and then you shut down. And then if you don't fix that, that's when it turns into an anxiety disorder,
Oh.
where your body thinks the normal way for it to purge
Right.
is to just kind of shut you down because you don't have
Right.
practice. So then I started having panic attacks almost every day
No.
for about a month.
Oh my God.
I got put on some like heavy duty meds,
That's crazy.
and
Like that intensity of like.
No,
the
it wasn't
shoulders-
quite that intense,
Yeah.
but it was just
I
like-
get anxiety like I've
but
always had.
but
a
it was
little
bad.
anxiety, but-
Like it was where I would be
Wow.
in an elevator and I would freak out.
Whoa.
Right? Or I would, perfect example, I was flying from, this is like, not in my airplane. I couldn't get in my, I didn't fly my airplane, so I couldn't get in my airplane
Yeah.
and close the hatch.
Oh my
without
God.
just
Freaking out.
Just massive anxiety, right? Like can't breathe.
Yeah.
Then it turned into enclosed spaces, like elevators.
Whoa.
It
So you were
turned-
getting claustrophobia.
Yeah, it was claustrophobia, or I would sometimes just be sitting in my office, and I would think about something, and I would be like, and I was like, what is going on? So anyway, they put me on the medication. It just totally numbed me.
Yeah.
Right, it gave me the whole like.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
And
At
I
least
did
not
that.
long term, yeah.
Well, no, and that was the first time where I was sitting. I'll never forget this day. This is like, it was a Sunday. It was in January, like mid-January, and we spent some time with the family for Christmas. I was still
Yeah.
kind of figuring my stuff out, like you just
Yeah,
shattered
yeah.
identity. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm looking out at the ocean, and it's just me in the house, and I have this thought, and I'm like, I can see how people kill themselves. And the minute that thought arrived,
Oh my God.
I was so present at that moment. The minute that thought just arose,
Yeah.
and I was like, whoa, did I just think that?
Whoa, yeah.
I was like, who's that guy?
Yeah.
Right, and I was like, I remember, look, I just taken some of those the medication, so I just threw that shit in the garbage.
Thank
And
God.
I was like, this doesn't work. And so then I decided to kind of, like, all right, this is something that I need to solve, not cover
Right.
up the symptoms.
Right.
And that kind of began my journey of just really getting into deep meditation, trying to
Yeah.
figure out, all of these esoteric, like, what did the really wise
Right.
ancient traditions know, and just, getting very deep into, pick it, right? There's so many different practices,
Right.
but for me, a lot of it was kind of going into Buddhism and going into kind of the ancient Hindu religions.
Yeah.
They're all kind of similar. It's about being
Yeah.
present. It's about, a lot of breath work and
And they lay out meditative techniques
yeah, the
very well.
meditation.
Yeah.
I started doing transcendental meditation
Yeah.
and a few others, and from there it became so obvious. Like, it's just, you have to, this is an experiential thing where you finally get to the place where you're like, you know what, like, we're all connected,
Yeah.
right? And as I'm thinking this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm turning into a tree hugger.
I know. I think the same thing about myself all the time
like,
now. and
I
I'm
was
like,
having this massive, because
Yeah.
when I was in that place of just being present and realizing there's something way bigger than me.
Right.
I still don't know what to call it, because again, I didn't grow up religious. But
right. I don't like using the word God, but it's like there is like this universal
you call it
consciousness,
God,
whatever you want to.
infinite
Yeah.
intelligence, right? Whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. But you get to that place where I know that for me to show up in a way where I don't have the feelings that I had, whether it's anxiety, whatever else, and that all of that is suffering.
Right.
Right? It's
Right.
different forms of suffering. And so as I started some of these practices, I realized that I could go days without suffering, not just anxiety, where I would just be in bliss.
Yeah.
Where, and eventually got to the point where, I started making a practice that peace of mind and that joy in my life was my absolute non-negotiable.
Right.
Right? That I would not I started asking myself this question, how cheap is my happiness?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what currency am I willing to trade it for? Because somebody said something?
Yeah.
Because something didn't show up the way I wanted it to?
That's a
because
great,
the deal didn't happen in
strategy to
business?
think about,
Or
yeah.
because I got in an argument? And I was like, so I control that. So when I
Right.
wake up in the morning, my biggest thing is, okay, well, how do I live this day from from a practice perspective that gives me the best chance
Right.
to show up? And then that turned into, just more of like a virtuous way to live. It sounds kind of a real old school to say it,
No, but it's true.
It is so.
You start seeing the value in those things now.
Yeah, and you know, that was the first time I sat down and when I was going to practice, and I was like, I really said, hey, here's what I want to, like, who do I want to be when I grow up? Not the things I want to have. And I realized, and one of my mentors gave me this piece of advice, which I think is just so relevant for people in our professions.
Yeah.
And he said, try to think of one time in your entire life when you were thinking about serving somebody else, when you felt anything but joy.
Anything but joy.
Yeah.
When you're serving someone else. Yeah.
It's like you can't be anxious when you're serving somebody else. You can't. You can't have fear. You can't have anxiety. You can't have, all of those things stem from the ego, and all those things stem from a place where either directly or indirectly you're trying to figure out what's in it for me.
Right.
No, it's not about my kids. My kids will behave a certain way, and I'm like, anxious. They won't. No, because it's a reflection of how that makes you feel. Right? Like you are internalizing their behavior, and that's turning you anxious. So, or what's in it, like, if this deal doesn't happen, what does that mean for my business, and what's going to happen, and and then you literally take that projection and you turn it into a reality, and that fear, and you follow it all the way down to how it's going to impact you.
Right. Yeah.
And when you live in that place, you live in a place of fear, anxiety, and regret.
And once you realize that, you can reverse it, and you can do the exact opposite, and you can make yourself like whatever you want to be too.
Yeah, and
that's
so
a beautiful thing.
What we do this here at Asgard. Like one of the things, and one of our big things is, if I can show up as the best version of me, right. So first, like, what does that mean, right? So I did the work. I'm so proud of this, like I literally did the work to say, okay, well, this is the guy I want to become. Yeah. And again, not things I want to have. Yeah. Right? And who is that? Like, what are my values? Like, it's service, it's contribution. Right. It's in a very kind of airy fairy way. It's unconditional love. It's like it's showing up in a different way. So I literally sat down and I created this person that I wanted to become. Yeah. That when I look back, when I'm 80 or 90, I'm looking back and saying, you know what? Like, who was this guy who lived this life, right? Yeah. So one of my heroes, if you want to call it that, has always been Marcus Aurelius. I mean, one of my favorite books is Meditations from Marcus Aurelius. I haven't read it yet, but it's on my list. Ariana Huffington also talks about it too. But it's a Stoic philosophy. Like, here's a guy who was a king and a warrior and just very well versed in Stoic philosophy, and he lived a life of virtue. Right. He created who he wanted to be for the day, and then lived in congruence with that. That was the most important thing to him. Very cool. And I was like, well, that's a beautiful way to live. I never even thought of that. Like, at 38, I've never thought about what it is. I knew job I wanted, the car I wanted, the plane I wanted, Right. But, like, who did I want to be? And so that was, like, it was super fun. Yeah. And it was like you energized, like you're reborn. Yeah, once you get into it, it is like, it's just nonstop motivation after that, because there's so much more you can always dig into, right? And then literally, my happiness now comes from whether or not I'm congruent with my values and my virtues, and did I live my day in them, right? That's awesome. Every morning I wake up, I have a very simple ritual. Actually, speaking of this, can I jump into the questions, because I'm going to ask you about that kind of stuff too. Yeah, ask me whatever you want. Do you have a hard stop? May I take a look? Yeah, it's 5:05. How much time do you need? You tell me that. Usually takes like 45 to an hour, but I can make it shorter if you need to. If we're done by 6, that's fine. Okay, cool. So, we know when you started the business. How many employees do you have? We currently have 8 employees at the firm, and then we'll probably have another 20 or so in one of the portfolio companies that we're getting very close here pretty soon. Okay, cool. How would you describe your corporate culture, and how do you foster it? So our corporate culture is, I don't know if I can describe it in a word, but the way to think about that is, here's my thesis, I'll tell you that. That's what I'm building the business on. Yeah. If I can grow a leadership team that has done the work on themselves, where they want to show up as the best versions of themselves, and then empower them to just kind of live up to that, and put some, guideposts where that's an expectation. All the little things, like we don't worry about, well, what's this policy and what's that policy. Our goal here is like, let's show up in a highly empowered way, and I'll give you an example of how that manifests itself in terms of how we do it. So, in order for you to work here, the process I told you to, I'd like go and figure out what it is you want to be when you grow up. Yeah. What's the best, highest version of yourself? Yeah. You have to go do that work. You have to come back. You have to have it written down. and we call them, those are your I am statements.
Yeah.
Right. This is your highest version, and then you declare those to your teammates, and we hold you accountable for living.
Very cool.
Into that person that you're claiming that you want to be.
Very
right?
cool.
Is it aspirational? Absolutely. But we hold people accountable to show up as it's not an edict or a mandate that that it's not Quran's way.
Right.
You go do your work. Whatever it is that you think, this is the highest version of me.
Yeah.
That's the guy I want to see show up at work. That's the guy I want interacting with his teammates. That's the guy I want interacting with clients. That's the guy I want interacting with investors. Because that is who you are being.
Right.
Versus what you are doing.
Right.
And this is it's an inside out revolution. It's literally an inside out revolution. So we literally work on let's fix what's going on inside, because the actions that will flow through you, from you, when you're being, there's a distinction of being a certain kind of person, are just going to be, there's a different feel, texture, taste, smell to those actions.
Yeah.
They show up in this universe in a different way.
And when you say you're fixing from the inside out, are you saying that the I am statements are what causes this kind of ripple effect of fixing it when you're declaring it to yourself? Is that how you view as fixing from the inside out?
Yeah, I mean, people talk about like affirmations and stuff for a long time, but I think sometimes they can get a little trite.
Yeah.
Because people just want to, you can't just plaster more stuff on, right? I mean, finding yourself is about taking off the armor. Mm-hmm. It's about removing more stuff till you get to your core. Right. A lot of the times in our society, in self-help or whatever you want to think about, right? That's more about like putting more stuff on.
Right.
Right. Like if you get this skill, and then you buy this thing, and you develop this ability.
Yeah.
And there's a time and a place for skills and abilities to participate here. But our view is that it's more about to shed all of the stuff that you've accumulated over a period of time to get to the core essence of who you are.
Right.
And then show up in your meetings, in your work, in your interactions as that authentic being.
Great answer.
Because it's a game changer.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Complete game changer.
I love that on your website you have your letter from the founder. It's like, I think it's so well put. And one of the lines I think in there, you say, we're financiers that think like entrepreneurs. What makes this so? Like, what makes you entrepreneurial, and what do you think sets you apart from other financial firms?
Where do I begin?
Pick like 3 things.
Yeah. So what makes us entrepreneurs? I mean, that's pretty simple. I think everybody who kind of came in to start this firm, they're all highly successful people, and I don't say that flippantly. These are folks who've had, big careers at big institutions. Whether it was investment management, or whether it was investment banking, or whether it was being turnaround companies, CEOs of big companies. So these are highly accomplished folks who all quit what they were doing that was safe to take a big risk to come start this platform. To me, that's literally the essence of entrepreneurship. Yeah. It's easy to be entrepreneur when you have no other options.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, shit, no one's going to hire me. I'm about to figure something else. But when you literally have every option that's out there for you, and you make an active choice that instead of taking that path, what I want to do is create something that doesn't exist that I think needs to exist, and I want to do it with like-minded people. Cool. Right? And so it's the willingness to go backwards before you go forwards, even though you don't have to.
Yeah, to do it right. Yeah.
And so that by definition for me is why our firm is very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
And what makes us different is our number one ethos is and this is still new to some people, I just don't understand why, is we believe that business is just a powerful platform to have a massive change in the world. Like you say, business is a powerful platform to change the world.
That was the number one thing that I loved on your was it 10 founding truths?
Yeah, and so that is, you like that's, you know what, if you want to think of us drinking Kool-Aid, then I need you to drink that Kool-Aid because it's tasty. It's really delicious.
And what do you think, like, so when you say business is a powerful platform for changing to change the world for the better, how is Asgard changing the world for the better? Is it the people? Is it like, what is your outlook?
All of it. So, I think it all starts with intention. I think intention is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there literally is, without getting all metaphysical on you, but I believe, and again, this is not, something that, it's experiential, right? So I think the way you show up and how you show up and your why behind why you do what you do it's almost like, when somebody just cooks you something with a lot of love, you can almost taste it. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And so to me, like, the intention behind your actions,
Yeah.
just literally, in my way of thinking, it purifies those actions, and those actions have a lot more power. So intentionality makes us meaningfully different. We're not a nonprofit, we're a for-profit business,
Yes.
for all intents and purposes. But we do not engage with a client unless we think there's a values match. And one of the questions we ask all our clients, whether that's private equity business that we're looking to buy, and we want to make sure that, or if it's a client on the advisory side that will engage to assist in whatever capital
Yeah.
raise, is tell us why your company needs to exist besides making a profit.
Right. That's a great question, yeah.
And if you can't articulate that means you haven't thought through it. So
Yeah.
and if that's a question where like, why are you asking me that? That to us is the first sign that's
Yeah.
probably not going to be a good match. There's a lot of companies out there, and our goal is to take a level of sophistication that really has not been made accessible to some of the smaller companies, to some of the earlier stage companies who can't go have access to J.P. Morgans of the world,
Yeah.
or Merrills of the world, but they deserve the same caliber
Service,
of service and intellectual ability, helping them think through their business issues. And so for us, it's not about the size; it's about the intention of the business.
Cool.
And I think that's pretty unique to what we do.
Very cool. I mean, you've been the CEO of multiple companies. You've been a president of a prominent financial firm. What do you consider to be your biggest career achievement?
Yet to be defined. I think my bigger career achievement will be 10 years from now, when people are talking about how Asgard changed what it meant to, let me take a step back. The reason this firm exists is what we are literally, we're doing an experiment.
Yeah.
We have a hypothesis we want to prove out, and our hypothesis is if you truly show up and you take a view that business ought to be a platform to do good in the world, and inside of that thesis is that my only goal and my leadership team's goal is to really empower each person that's in any of the businesses that we're in to show up as the highest version of themselves. That to me is the most sound business strategy, right?
Right.
That you could ever have. And our goal is to say, hey, let's see if we just show up with that, what can that build in 10 years?
Cool.
Right? And if it could, wouldn't it be cool if you could change the dialogue? Because typically what happens is, and I say this kind of flippantly, like tree huggers are tree huggers and Wall Street guys are Wall Street guys, right? And so what I want to do is bring legitimacy to a conversation where it's like, did it, I was top of my class at JP, I turned around 2 companies, we launched a private equity firm, and oh, by the way, here's what we believe. Because that conversation is not happening.
Yes.
Right? So bringing that level of legitimacy that, you know what, if you start with purpose, profits will follow.
Yes.
And it's an incredibly powerful way to do good in the world and be profitable.
Yes. And those profits are magnified, not just by money that way too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also juice in your actions. I mean, there's juice in your life, and you're not chasing something that at the end of the 10 years, maybe I'll get this thing and it'll be cool.
Right.
Like every day I show up every day. I absolutely love what I do. I love who I do with. I love the clients we have.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's as much about the daily steps as cliche, like it's about the journey. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see. We'll see what what this turns into. But so far, so good.
Cool. What failure or mistake, or what's your biggest failure or mistake that turned out to be more of a learning or growing experience in retrospect, but at the time you were like, oh my God, everything's over?
The first 37 years of my life.
That's
no, I mean, like, listen, you are always right. You are
Yeah.
always in a state of, and I'm only kind of half joking, but you're a product of your experiences, right? And I fundamentally believe that the obstacle is the way. Obstacles aren't there for you to kind of go around. The obstacles, like, it's not life, and by the way, you have some obstacles. The obstacle is the way, and you have experiences in life, and they forge you and they mold you, and you do have free will. You can choose to be at the cause of it or at the effect of it. But if you get to a place where you choose to be at the cause of it, everything in life is something to teach you.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like if I hadn't had the experiences I had for the first 37 years of my life, I probably wouldn't have gotten to the place where I had that event where in the airplane that got me to go down this journey, that got me here. And I think given that my life today is so different, and not good, bad, and this is not, I'm not on some high horse telling people what to do, what not to do, just for me, the way I show up in the world, just a level of pride I have in who I am becoming as a human being.
Yeah.
It's so much deeper than it ever was, and that would have never happened had I not ended up in the hospital and thought about why the hell am I even here?
Yeah, that was a major catalyst.
So
or
yeah, so I would
turning
say
point for you.
first 37 years of life are all the
all the big
experience.
mistakes that brought you
There
here.
you go. That's it.
Nice. I was going to ask why you consider yourself a conscious enterprise, but that's clearly stated in your 10 founding principles. Do you feel that when you started the idea for Asgard, would it have benefited you in any way to have left out your commitment to a higher purpose in growing this business? Like, would it have been easier? Would it have been monetarily easy? Smoother?
No.
Yeah.
This is such
Funny,
an
everyone says no.
That is such an interesting question. So we have all of these fears that are our projections that because there's things that we want, right? And I'm not talking materially, spiritually, like when we're in that place, we're being really romantic about our life and how we want to show up, and we have this, and it just feels so good to think about, like this is how I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, that moment passes, and you're kind of sitting there eating Cheetos, watching TV,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, that was kind of, like that was cool, but like that's not real. and what I'm learning is, in my older age, as I get wiser, is those moments when you have those highly inspired visions of yourself, that is the truth.
Right.
And everything else, moments when you dull yourself into bringing back to reality, right? That's the hypnosis that society wants us to live in. That's not the truth, right? And so once you make that distinction, it is a clear distinction, that when I have those highly inspired moments, like, that is my truth. That's what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And that is an inspired way of living. So let me give you a perfect example. So when I first started thinking about Asgard, and I was like, here's what I want to do. Like, I love business. I'm really good at it. I love turning companies around. I love, putting deals together.
Yeah.
I'm not a singer. I'm not a dancer. I'm not an author. Like, what's my platform? My platform's business.
Right.
Right. And I was like, okay, well, how do I translate this into some kind of a spiritual enterprise and a commercial enterprise?
Yeah.
And right away, I was like, you've lost it. I was like, dude, you've gone like full hippie, like,
Yeah.
And so I would have these moments where I was journaling. I journal a lot, and like all these crazy ideas popping up. Wouldn't it be cool if we started a financial services firm in the middle of New York, where the intention was service, contribution, helping entrepreneurs take them to the next level, hiring some of the smartest people in the industry, and really my role was to empower them into becoming the best versions of themselves, and like all these things, like, wouldn't it be cool? And I would get so excited about it, right? And I would leave that journal and I would go, for a run or a walk or spend some time or go to work, and I'd come back and I would read it when I was not in an inspired state. And it would be like, oh, what a dream, like,
Really?
Because it was like, oh, like, that can't happen.
Yeah, that's
like,
just crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
people, and this is where your ego comes in, because like people don't think you're nuts. You've lost it.
Yeah.
Like, you're a respectable guy.
Right.
You worked at J.P. Morgan. You were an investment bank. Like, this is like cuckoo shit. What are you doing, right? And you realize that, and that's when you like kind of pull back. I leaned into it.
Awesome.
Right? I leaned into it because I knew that doing what I kept doing was what got me to the place where I was popping pills.
Right.
Right? Because in order to just get through the day so I wouldn't have an anxiety attack. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't work.
Right.
So in a weird way, that option was no longer there for me. Right? So I can take
You're
the
like,
claim.
what do I have to lose? Yeah.
So I can claim to be courageous, but for me, it was just the very natural next action was, well, that path is not working.
Right.
So I got to try this. If this one doesn't work, then I'll pick which one of those two sucky paths I want to go down. Right? Because right now, but I was like, I just have to do something different. So whatever the reason was, I leaned into it. Here's what I found. All of us, unequivocally, if you're a human being, even if you're a sociopath probably, but definitely if you're a highly functioning human being, right, when no one's around, you will have these moments of inspiration. You just haven't been given the legitimacy to kind of really think that it's okay for you for that to be your reality.
Yeah.
But when some other highly inspired dreamer shows up with a plan, and it speaks to you, and you gotta get the sense, it's a little bit of validation that, oh, I'm not totally crazy. The perfect example is one of the first people that joined the firm is one of our common mutual friends, Robert.
Right.
And I had this whole idea of this, what I wanted to do, and I called Robert up. He's one of my closest friends, and he was in Bermuda at the time, and he was kind of figuring out what his next steps were. I was like, Robert's probably crazy, but I was like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to come do this with me. And I'm thinking, like, we don't have any funding, and seeing people have all jobs. I'm ready to quit my job because I'm just in a different place so that people might be. And I walk them through my vision of what this is I want to create.
Yeah.
And literally, it took I want to say 15 or 20 minutes or maybe a half hour of me just, I call it passioning all over himself, right? It's like, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this and have an impact? And you know, yeah, we'll make money, and you know, like that'll be a byproduct, but like, think about how proud you would be of what you're doing, and it's not just about this, that, and then, and I'm thinking like he's gonna be like, he's lost it, and he's like, dude, I am so in. And
That's
I was like, what?
amazing, yeah.
And then it's the same conversation with Christian, one of our mutual friends. Like, here's what I'm gonna do, and you know, again, a super highly functional, you know, highly motivated, super brilliant guy, and he was just like, it was a one-time conversation. He's like, we can do that? And I was like, yeah, we can do that. He goes, I want in. Right, he came on. My roommate from Yale, Nick, who was a, you know, big-time investment banker here in the city, you know, for a pretty prominent firm, and same conversation with him, and I was like, guys, you know, and so, like, all of us has this thing, right, in us, but it's just never been okay, at least not in the finance world, you know, to really have those conversations.
Right.
So that's what I mean when
so what you thought was not even a possibility.
What I thought was so unique to me, right? As if like I was the only one. Like I just got to the point where I was willing to take the risk to be mocked, to be, you know, for people thinking I've lost my shit, for lack of a better word. But I was like, this is what I want to create because it resonates, and that resonance is the first four of my closest friends I spoke to, three of my close friends, left their jobs
immediately.
I had this conversation in January. By March, everybody had committed to doing this.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, since then we've hired obviously, you know, a few people, and everybody that's come in has come in because of this mission.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're on a mission.
Yeah. When you come into your own alignment, people just kind of start flooding, right?
It is.
It's amazing with synchronicity.
So very long-winded answer to your question. Is it hard? No.
Yeah.
I think this is the easiest thing I've done in
That's
plus
amazing.
It's not work because you show up. There's a lot of hard things that happen day to day.
Yeah.
And who knows? You know, we could be having a conversation in a year and the company couldn't exist. You know, who knows, right?
Right.
But as of right now, you know, we have a ton of clients. We have more clients than we know what to do with.
Yeah.
You know, we'll probably start fundraising at the end of 2018 for the PE fund, where we've already sourced a couple of deals. We probably get, you know, every time we post a position, we get like a couple hundred resumes.
Wow.
Right? So there's just this really hunger for people to kind of say, well, I didn't realize that I don't have to go live in a cave in order to have, like, I can actually be in a place of work.
Right.
You know, that fosters my, you know, consciousness, my spirituality, whatever you want to call it. It's not like we sit around and do yoga all day long. But it's just a different way of being, and I think it's really resonated with the right people. So far so good.
Very cool. I know you talked about in your Thrive article, which I'll link out from this, about your morning ritual and how you get prepped for your day and how that kind of sets you in alignment for everything you want to accomplish.
Not what I want to accomplish, how I want to show up for the day.
How you want to, who you want to be.
Who I want to be. I think that's a distinction I'll keep bringing you back to.
That is an important distinction.
Actions flow from me naturally when I'm being a certain way. I don't have to be disciplined. I don't have to have willpower.
Right.
Like if I say, you know, I am massive contribution and I find a way to serve others in any situation, that's one of my affirmations.
Yeah.
Right. When I internalize that, without me actually consciously being aware, anytime I engage in a dialogue with somebody, there's a part of me that's like, okay, how can I be of service?
Right.
Right? That's being.
Yeah.
Versus saying, okay, I'm going to do 3 acts of kindness and I'm going to take them off.
And I'm going to do it externally.
Right, I'm going to do it externally.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
That's a.
And how do you use this personal ritual of yours and infuse it through the company? Because I strongly believe, you know, every business leader, whether you're a 5-person company, a 1-person company, a 1,000-person company, the beliefs and, you know, basically the energy, I think, of the business leader is infused through their company.
Absolutely.
How do you, I guess, foster that ritual and everything you're achieving with that ritual into your business?
So we have a very specific way, and it was very, it's by design, right? So I believe my role in this firm, because I have so many incredibly smart, brilliant people, they don't need me to tell them what they need today to do day to day, right?
Yeah.
Like they can do that mostly, right? So I take pride, like my number one job is to get them to keep showing up as the biggest, highest performing versions of themselves. Like, so how do you do that? In our business, whether it's the investment banking side or the private equity side, there's a lot of things that pull at you on a day-to-day basis, right? So
Right.
things that'll take you away from your center is the way I like to describe it. So one of my favorite words, at least for the last year or so, has been equanimity, right? It's the ability to come to center, right? It's an ability to come to, in Taoism, right? It's Tao Te Ching. It's all about the middle way.
Okay.
Right, and because when you go too far in the pendulums, there's some kind of a force that's pulling you to get centered. And there's a lot of power when you're being centered, right? And so, how do you do that? So you talked
Right.
about my morning ritual. That's for me to get centered. So we have
Yeah.
a ritual for the business to get the business centered, because the business is also an organism.
Great.
Right.
Yeah.
And for us, that's pretty simple. And I think I don't know if it's unique or not, but I don't know if anybody else who does it. But every time we talk about this with other people or the companies, they're like, that's incredible that works, and you
Yeah.
guys do that, and
So what does that entail?
So-
you don't have to go into specifics.
yeah, no, I'll
Yeah.
tell you, it's and we've shared this with other people, so this is all it's
Yeah.
no secret sauce. So we do it every Tuesday. It's our Tuesday morning meeting, we call it, and it has nothing to do with our business pipeline or not. This is to get the team centered.
Cool.
Right. Here's what we do. The very first thing is we go through a gratitude practice.
Yeah.
So everybody goes around and they literally kind of be very mindful of like what they're thankful for. It sets the tone. The second thing we do, we have a acknowledgement practice. And acknowledgement is different than flattery or compliments.
Yeah.
This is truly like in a very, very authentic way. If somebody in the company in some way, shape, or form did something that you highly valued, where they really showed who they are and then how they showed up,
Yeah.
you acknowledge that person in front of everybody, right? And that kind of also fosters this environment of and frankly, you can acknowledge people for not doing something either.
Right.
It's like, hey, I want to acknowledge you for really not showing up. So,
Yeah.
but either way, it's just a very, very authentic way of just kind of, this is what we're about, and I want to acknowledge you for doing X, Y, and Z. Like, so, that's one component. The third piece is what I talked about. Everybody that works at this firm has to do the work and figure out their highest version, which is written in the equivalent of their I am statements.
Oh wow.
Right? And so every Tuesday, each person, when we scale, we'll have to figure out how to do this, right?
Yeah.
But at least right now, it's important if we do it. Every person, and some people have 5 statements, some people have, 20 statements about who they are. They will get up. Most of them have it memorized. Some of them have it on a piece of paper, and they stand up and they declare who they are.
Very
Right?
cool.
And so for me, some of the ones say, I am a creator and I speak my world into existence. I am excellence personified. I'm profound wisdom. I'm divine intuition. I'm completely authentic. I'm unconditional love. I'm massive contribution, and I find a way to serve others in any situation. And it
Beautiful.
goes, I'm the husband of the year every day, and I love and support my wife unconditionally. I'm the father of the year every day, and I love and support my boys unconditionally. I'm unshakable faith. I am my word.
Awesome.
Right? And so whatever it is for you, right? And so you literally go up and you speak and you declare that.
Yeah.
Right? And so everybody there knows that this is you at your best. And so this is just another way for you making, again, words have power. And now your best, highest version, now you feel compelled to live up to the best, highest version, because that's the promise you're making your teammates of how
Right.
you want to show up. And it's also you recommitting every week, right? It's about equanimity.
Right.
So you can go off too far, for a week. Every Tuesday, I'm going to bring you back.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday.
And people probably progress every week too, I would imagine. You
It
probably
does.
see it, yeah.
Every Tuesday we're going to come back. There's going to be practice of gratitude. There's going to be practice of acknowledgement. There's going to be practice of you declaring your best version of you.
Yeah.
And then we pick one of our truths. We call them our 10 founding truths. That's really the basis of what we believe is the operating system of this business, right? Again, not things we do, but how we show up. And we pick one, and we just go through it every week. So we're not a company where you have values in the walls.
Right.
But that's not how we roll.
Yeah.
Right. So we call it breathing life back into your values.
Yeah.
So every week we pick one, and the team discusses what it means to them personally and how we show up with that with our clients, with our investors, with our companies.
Cool.
Right. And then we go through that process, and then the last piece to finish that out is we go through, and if we have time, we do it most of the times. We go through a 10-minute kind of a visualization,
Cool.
for what we want this company to be about, how we want it to look. So somebody will lead it, 3 years from now, here's where we are.
Awesome.
Here's who we're serving. And the reason to do that is you can have a lot of words, right? And you can say the same words and different people can get different mental imagery.
Right.
I want everybody on this team to have the same exact mental imagery of where we're going, so there's no ambiguity
Yeah.
about what this company is trying to become, right? You can read a vision statement
Yeah.
and it doesn't say anything, but we literally walk through it. It's 2020. Here's where we are. Here's the kind of companies we have served. Here's the kind of companies we have.
Yeah.
Right. So you literally, I call it, you're pulling the future in.
Yeah.
Right?
I totally see that. Yeah.
And it's
how long
just
does this entire weekly
hour,
ritual take?
hour.
An hour?
Yeah. It's
So doable.
So we commit an hour to just being, and again, all of this is, you can go wherever you want for a week, deals will pull you, because every Tuesday I'm getting you back to center.
Right.
And the fastest way from point A to point B is always going to be a straightest line. Most journeys zigzag a lot, right?
Right.
And even an airplane is off course most of the time, it's small corrections.
Yeah.
So this practice allows us to kind of course correct, so nobody gets off path for too long. So even though there's zigzags, I'm tightening the band of the oscillations.
Right.
Every Tuesday you're back here.
Exactly.
Every
Yeah, I
Tuesday you're
can see
back
that.
here. And that's what's given us the velocity where we've been in business for 8 months or 9 months, and the progress that we've had is because I feel like we've done like 3 years worth of work.
That's amazing.
In 7 months, because everybody knows where we're going. Everybody knows what the best version of everybody else is. We hold each other accountable for that, and we come back to the equanimity of who we are and how we're going to show up every Tuesday.
Laser focused. When you started Asgard?
I mean, we do real work too. That's not all.
Do
we
you?
do. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not just sitting there singing Kumbaya all day long.
Wouldn't be bad if you did. You'd probably start some kumbaya
It would
business
just
too.
it would be a different business model.
It would be a different. Yeah, it would be a different.
We'll have a yoga studio.
When you started Asgard, did you require investing or funding? Was it self-funded? And how did you figure out how to attract the right money for your investment?
So this goes back to the question you asked about, are we entrepreneurs?
Right.
We 100% self-funded this.
That's amazing.
So not only did people forego, their big paychecks at the big firms, we put money into the firm, and the opportunity cost of not working somewhere else, that's how much we believe that this is something that needed to exist.
Cool. We talked about, all your accomplishments, and, you're at JP Morgan and being the CEO of all these other financial firms. I saw that you're on the Wall Street Journal CEO Council now, which is really cool. Do you consider yourself today to be a successful person?
I do, but it's not because of those things.
Cool.
I consider myself to be a very successful person because I figured out for me, success is the process and how I show up.
Yeah.
And that's something that I control. So I know it's not that I will have something someday that will define my success. If I wake up in the morning and I talk out about, I speak out my I am statements, and I actually live them throughout the day, and I do my inventory before I go to bed and say, hey, did you live up to your virtues today?
Yeah.
Right? Guaranteed success.
Yeah.
And if I put enough of those days together, because our life is just moments, right?
Right.
So I put enough of those months together, which are comprised of enough of those weeks together, which are comprised of enough of those days together,
right,
which is comprised of enough of those hours together, right? Yeah, I'll have a massively successful life. I have zero doubt. But I'm not looking for some external validation to make me a success. My success comes from things I control, which is how do I show up. So I consider myself a very successful person.
My next question was going to be, how do you measure success? But I think you answered that.
One day at a time.
Yeah. What are your short-term goals for this business? Like, where do you see Asgard in 6 months to a year?
Great question. So our short-term goals, again, there's two business lines. One is the equivalent of what I call an investment banking practice, which is more focused on kind of strategic capital raising for the companies that we want to support. And the other one is a private equity business, which is a lower middle market private equity business. We go out and we take controlling interest in companies, and then apply the Asgard way to them, right?
Okay.
And to kind of put it differently. So the short-term goal is, I think we've hired a few folks. I think we're probably going to be doing a lot more hiring over the next 6 months. We have more business that we can handle on the advisory side, and that'll keep building out. And then probably in the next 6 months or so, we're starting to have conversations about going down the path of doing the fundraising for the private equity business. Because currently it's we are working as an independent sponsor, and we have a few pledge funds with a few family offices, but the intention there is to actually go out there and raise a committed fund, and that's probably over the next 6 to 12 months we'll start that process.
Cool. What do you want people, what's a valuable piece of advice you'd like to give to other entrepreneurs that are creating businesses with conscious intentions?
Just love ambiguity. Live in the unknown. Know that's something that has never happened, right? Something that has never happened in your life. can happen.
Yeah.
Right, but in order for it to happen, because that's all entrepreneurship is all about, right?
Right.
You are creating something because you're passionate about. So how does that happen? I think you got to get away from the place of needing any level of certainty, because the world ain't going to give you certainty.
Right.
So you got to get to a place where you are so comfortable in ambiguity and just the unknown, and you get to a place where you give yourself certainty.
Right.
The fact that no matter what shows up, I will find a way to fix it. No matter what shows up, I'll put a team together, that'll help me chart that territory.
Right.
That to me is the definition of an entrepreneur, is when environments that make most people kind of get a pit in their stomach and they go searching and craving for certainty.
Right.
That's when you're like, wow, I'm exactly where I need to be, because the coolest things that have ever happened in anyone's life have always come out of certainty. It was the uncertainty when I approached my now wife, or whether or not, she would say yes, right? It was like putting yourself out there and leaning into your fears, or whatever your cliches you want to use, but they're so true.
Yeah.
Right. So the biggest advice is just realize that the only person that needs to give you certainty is you. So work on yourself till you get there, and then just find a way to just love ambiguity and the unknown, and just revel in it. That's where your best opportunities are going to come from.
Beautiful. I should have asked you this before. Where did that name come from?
So
I couldn't figure it out. I was like,
do you know what Asgard means?
No.
Okay, so Asgard is the name. It's a Norwegian. It's out of Norwegian Norse mythology.
It's a Norwegian what?
It's a Norwegian mythology.
Mythology.
Right.
Okay.
So Asgard, it was one of the 9 realms, and Asgard is the home of the gods. So Thor and Odin lived in Asgard, right? So it's the home of the Viking warriors and the gods.
No wonder that makes sense with you've got the helmets.
But the name specifically, so my wife is Norwegian.
Right.
As you know, you know Karina.
Yeah.
And so when she was pregnant, I used to just make a ton of fun of her, right? Because as you can see, I'm pretty brown, and I would always tell her, I was like, sweetheart, it's going to be so cool when the baby comes out, and you have him in a stroller and you're pushing him around Central Park, and he's going to be this like really, happy brown baby, and everybody's going to think that you're the nanny, And I was like, oh, you're going to be the really attractive young nanny. And she's like, oh, you're such an idiot. And she's got such a wicked sense of humor. The day he was born, and I'm such a softie, I'm like holding him, at the in the hospital room, and she just kind of and you've seen him.
I've seen
he's literally he's like the whitest white baby there ever
totally
could be, right?
You're like crap.
And I'm holding him, and I'm just like I'm just such a little wuss, and I'm like crying, and she looks over and she goes, huh, I guess Viking genes kick Indian genes ass. And so we started calling him our baby Viking.
Oh, that's
so
really
when we were launching the firm, we just wanted to have fun with it. So Asgard is the realm of the gods. It's where the Viking warriors go. He's our baby Viking.
I love that.
And I was pulling together a team of Viking warriors.
Oh, cool.
So that's where Asgard came from, and this is I'll give you 2 seconds on it because it's really funny.
Yeah.
So what it's turned into, like culture is big in companies, but a lot of times culture just develops organically.
Right.
So when I started this, we just like to have a lot of fun, right? Because life is too short to not have fun.
Right.
So each one of the first 4 guys that came on board, I got them all these custom-made steel helmets with these Viking horns, the ones you've seen in our office.
Yeah.
And each member was given a Viking name.
Nice.
Right? And their Viking name is inscribed in their helmet.
So, what's your Viking name?
I'm Ragnar.
Where did you just Googled these? How did you find
these? So we all went and we did some research, and Ragnar was a badass, and so each one of the guys went. So I'm Ragnar, Robert is Bloodaxe, Christian is Gunnar, Joe is Steady Legs, Nick is Surtur, and a few people we hired since then. Jeff is Forkbeard, and Andy is Ulf.
Nice.
Right, and
it's a well-rounded crew.
It's a well-rounded crew, but nobody calls themselves by their real names.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
It's literally for the last 7 months.
You're just calling each other by these ridiculous names.
These ridiculous names, and then our clients every once in a while they'll have in front of them all. They come to the office one of these helmets. Literally every single client we're engaged with has self-selected themselves into the realm and given themselves names.
That's awesome.
So we will get on the phone with our clients, and you will have hey, it's Bjorn and Magnus on the line, and it's the president and CEO of a life sciences company we're dealing with, and their real names are Steve and David.
That's
Right?
hysterical.
But every time they're on the phone, it's Bjorn and Magnus.
Bjorn.
So it's. I mean, even our accountant, who does kind of the company accounting, he's given himself. He's like, can I opt in? This is cool. And so he signs all of his documents that he sends us as Sven Funkbeard.
Amazing.
So
That's so
you know,
ridiculous and
it
hilarious.
is
I love
completely
it.
it's completely ridiculous, but we have fun with it.
Pretty much at the end. Is there anything else you wanted me to ask you that I didn't, that you would want the world to know about Asgard or about you as a person?
No, I think you're very very thoughtful and very thorough in your questions. So